We are now talking of more than 10 years that this institution had been there. Malaria is a disease that is caused by an infective female Anopheles mosquito. And the major parasite being the Plasmodium falciparum. Both the female Anopheles mosquito, including the male mosquitoes and the parasites, they move across the border. They do not carry passports as you, Sharon, and myself. If I'm going to Botswana, if I'm going to Angola, we carry passports. They don't. They move freely. There is freedom of movement in SADC, in Africa. Thus, I think it's important for me to say this, that malaria, for me, is the major killer in sub-Saharan Africa. SADC Elimination Aid, one of the member states, Mozambique, as an example, is classified as one of the top 10 endemic countries globally. Thus, at UN, United Nations, WHO, the World Health Organization, is mandated to advise member states technically on all diseases, including malaria. Therefore, for most of the time that I saved as Minister of Health, we have had, on many occasions, we attended the World Health Assembly, we attended the WHO Regional Committee once every year. And then we, at health, at SADC level, there is an annual ministers' meeting. Thus, WHO in all this had persistently advised member states to strengthen their border collaborations. Why? Because if they want to control leading to elimination, they will need to look at the drugs, they will need to look at the chemicals. Thus, they were advised to strengthen their border collaboration. Therefore, more than 10 years, as I said, being a Minister of Health, and of course an expert, a malariologist, trained by WHO, I felt that need that we come together as a region, as neighbors, and see if we cannot work together, coming up with that initiative. As a result, Namibia invited the 7 colleagues, that is Ministers of Health. We met here in Windhoek at the country club. What is the name of this? Country club? Resort. And there was a big tent there. Who were invited at this meeting? The 7 ministers, of course, including Namibia and my deputy minister. Then we had 3 partners This included WHO. WHO was represented by Dr. Magda Robalo as WHO country representative. And then we had Professor Kolsak, Mari Kolsak, who was serving as a CEO of the Rollback Malaria Partnership to End Malaria. And we also invited an expert in malaria, that is Professor Sir Richard Fisher of the Global Health Group of the University of California. And together, as a team, we decided to come up with what has become known as the SADC Elimination Aid, with 4 frontline member states, that is Botswana, Eswatini, Namibia, and South Africa, with the aim that of these 4 member states, they would be the first to see light in terms of being declared as free from malaria by WHO. And then we also looked at the endemic countries, the 4 neighboring states, and that is Angola, Mozambique, Zambia, and Zimbabwe. Now, together, we then formed what has become known as E8 Ministerial Committee, to function as a subcommittee of SADC ministers on malaria elimination, to oversee both the elimination and control agenda in the SADC region. But I want to say that last part that I have just said, at the time, it did not exist. We did not invite the SADC Secretariat, but SADC Secretariat came to fore about, I think, 5 years ago now, that I decided, of course, having served as SADC, having served as E8, the first chair, we had agreed that we'll be rolling, but Namibia served for 3 consecutive terms. But I believe at the time that, we had agreed because of the expertise that existed then in Namibia. This is, I must also add that it was having realized that no single country can claim to eliminate malaria single-handedly. You can give an example of South Africa. There's no way that South Africa can eliminate malaria when Mozambique, the neighbor, there are no activities that are ongoing. It is for this reason you may wish to know that 2 years ago, South Africa decided to use their own resources by supporting their neighbor, that is Mozambique, in terms of finances, that together they may see light in terms of eliminating malaria. South Africa also have that history of the Libombo Special Initiative, where they almost eliminated malaria, working together, Mozambique, Swaziland at the time, and South Africa. And I recall at the time that I was studying in South Africa at the University of Natal. What are the core mandate of SADC Elimination Aid? One is the coordination, regional coordination. in order to achieve a zero malaria across the E8 with a target of focusing 2030. Secondly, advocacy. To elevate and maintain malaria high on the regional leadership agenda. And in fact, that's the reason why you have an ambassador, primarily to advocate, get into these member states. You know, there is this high turnout of ministers. Almost every year, there's a new minister of health in one of the member states. So, as an ambassador, you have to go and assist these ministers. The other aspect is harmonization, the promotion of policy harmonization, the knowledge management and quality control leading to elimination. Engaging, that's the fourth one, engaging, facilitate, reduce cross-border transmission. How? There's need for elimination aid to see to it that in these porous borders or in designated entrance border posts, something is done. You may wish to know for the past years that several clinics were installed, established in most of these common borders between Namibia and Angola, between Zambia and Zimbabwe, between Zimbabwe and South Africa, Angola, not Angola, Mozambique and South Africa, Zimbabwe and South Africa. And that was done by the elimination aid. And the other thing is engaging, sustaining resource mobilization efforts to ensure sustainable financing for elimination ambitions. Look, I spoke earlier, there's no single country, irrespective of its economic status. But let's admit, there are some of the countries who are poor. A good example, Mozambique. So, E8 Secretariat has to see to it that the gaps that member states cannot afford during the national cake or the budgeting, E8 must see to it that these member states are assisted. The